Well, Volunteer Nation focuses on the current program, especially this Saturday in Knoxville at the Orange and White game. There's a handful of prospects on the next level. They suddenly go from veteran status in the SEC to prospective status for the NFL. The NFL draft less than just about 10 days away. And Mike, we'll get your take on a handful of players here. And we'll start with quarterback Josh Dobbs, not because he's going to be the first volunteer selected, but he's been the face of the program, and he's been an outstanding student and athlete at Tennessee. And just your thoughts about a kid who threw 27 touchdowns last year and ran for another 12.
Tennessee fans are excited. We 2 years ago, we had one of the longest streaks in the nation broken as far as number of consecutive years of having a player drafted in the NFL draft. I believe it was in the 50s. I believe it was 51 straight years having somebody drafted in the NFL. I'm sure you'll fact check me on that one. But now 2 years in a row with no draftees. So the good news is we have 6 guys who will probably get drafted. Of course, the bad news is we lose 6 NFL caliber guys off the team. But Josh Dobbs can't ask for a better ambassador for a football program. Not your prototypical NFL quarterback. He had great interviews, great combine, great pro day. Probably the best guy coming out of the pro day at Knoxville of any of the draft guys. Shows the speed. If you look at his toughness, I think he's underrated on his toughness. Gruden pointed that out on his quarterback camp show, which was fantastic, as Gruden always does. I think Dobbs will surprise people. I think he'll go somewhere between 4th and 6th rounds. Somebody's going to take a flyer on him. I look for a team that has a kind of a mobile quarterback. You look at Seattle with Russell Wilson. You look at Dallas with Dak Prescott. And I also would look for the Tennessee Titans with Marcus Mariota. I think that would be the best fit for Joshua Dobbs to be a backup to one of those 3 guys. Probably mostly, I think the best fit overall would probably be in Nashville with the Titans backing up Marcus Mariota. I think his game is probably most like Mariota's. I don't think he has quite the pure arm strength that Mariota has, but I do think he has that deceptive toughness and deceptive speed that Mariota has. So I do think a team will take a flyer on him. I think it'll be a team looking for a solid backup that they can groom for a guy behind either Wilson, Prescott, or Mariota, or another team that might have a very mobile quarterback. So I think Dobbs does get drafted. I think he'll probably get drafted higher than some people would expect. As high as the 4th round, I would not expect to see him still available in the 7th round.
So Dobbs' selection by the Tennessee Titans, of course, would make a ready-made marketing campaign and a lot of fodder for sports writers to pick on that angle and go at that, the obvious connection there in Tennessee.